Hey everybody, Glenn Tompkins here. Got a story that's hot off the wire. We all know about what's going on with Peloton, but I'm not here to beat them up or to uplift them. I'm here to give you a full, solid story about the stock. So if you're interested in taking a walk through a detailed look about what's been going on with this stock prior to right now, you sit right there. I'm here to give you a detailed story about what's going on with the stock prior to what has happened in the news. So if that's what you're interested in, folks, you're in for a great treat today. Now, before we get started, I want you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, I bring it all the time, and we've got other people on our YouTube channel that bring you this kind of content. Once you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you will be alerted once stories like this come out. And also in the chat, let me know what you think about this video. All right, let's get hot and heavy into it. So we all know what happened with Peloton. They recalled all of their machines. So let's go get into my space right here. And here's the news. All right, Peloton CEO on treadmill recalls. We made a mistake in the initial response to US safety. As you remember, when this first came out about the children, there was a child, unfortunately, who died from one of the treadmills and others who were injured. So that's in and of itself, that is a horrible thing that happened, and that's going to affect Peloton to the adverse side, no matter what we say here. All right. So, but the CEO came out originally said, no, that's not the case. And then he had to come back and say, we made a mistake. So as I look at this, John Foley on Wednesday confirmed Connected Fitness Company voluntarily a decision to recall all of their units. Now, let me tell you something about Peloton. These machines ain't cheap. $4,295 for their big machine and $2,495 another treadmill, noting that people who bought either piece of equipment should stop using it immediately and contact the company for what? A full refund. That in and of itself is going to drive the stock's price down because they're going to have to give back all of this money to all of these people who purchased the machine. The company stock was down more than 14% midday trading on Wednesday. So again, that is big news. Now, I said to myself, you know what? Earnings are coming out. So I wanted to take a look at what has been happening with earnings, and looking at the last 1, 2, 3, 4 times of reporting earnings, they beat 3 out of the 4 times, all right, both on earnings per share and on revenue. And the time in May that they did miss earnings, revenue was there. Why is that? Because a lot of people are buying the machines. Why? Because they were quarantined and they couldn't get out to their gyms. So because of that, this was a great opportunity for Peloton. People jumped all over the machines because they still want to stay fit, and they did it at home. So notice that revenue went from 524 million, 607, 7.57, 1.6 billion. Earnings comes out today. What's going to happen? Well, we're going to see if they were able to grow quarter over quarter, year over year. They still may have grown quarter over quarter and beat estimates for revenue. But now with this, what's going to happen after the fact? Now, it was something that was interesting that caught my attention. The last earnings they beat. They had earnings per share of 18 cents per share, where the forecast was 8 cents. They beat forecast on revenue, but the stock's price went down after that report. So I said to myself, and then I answered because I know it was me. And I said, what happened in the last earnings? So I went the day after earnings, which was February 5th. Peloton is trading lower by 6% Friday pre-market, despite beating second quarter earnings and bottom line estimates, posting a profit of 18 cents per share, while revenue rose an astounding 128%. People and their mama was buying this bike. All right. Shareholders ignored the upbeat earnings, even though the company raised revenue guidance for the third quarter of the fiscal year, which is getting ready to happen now. So with all of that in mind, I said, well, why did they miss? Well, chronic delivery delays may be weighing on investor sentiment because so many people were buying the machines They couldn't keep up with the orders. So I said, well, what did they do to overcome that? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. In April of this year, Peloton completes a Precor acquisition, another bike to help to add to their frame of business. So that was also a good thing, and they ran and they jumped all over it, and that helped to bring, hopefully, more units to people who were looking for it. All right, so that's the backstory. What's going on now? All right, let's get into the VectorVest software. Here's the stock. All right, Peloton right now trading at $82.62. The stock has had a value way lower than its price since its inception into the system. It's got a value of $15.33. Yes, we give an intrinsic value on every stock in our database, and that's where we feel the stock is currently worth. Does that mean you can't buy it? Absolutely not. If the stock's price is moving up, we're going to tell you it's still okay to buy, but we're going to also tell you that the stock's price is overvalued. You need to take a look at it and manage it accordingly. Looking at our other analysis, the upside potential as compared to the market, in this case, the AAA corporate bond. The AAA corporate bond over the next 1 to 3 years should outperform Peloton. Relative safety is an indicator of risk. Now, keep in mind that these indicators are cast on a scale between 0 and 2, where above 1 is favorable. Notice that both of these fundamental indicators, relative safety and relative value, are below the value of 1. But that just currently happened. I'm going to show you some information on that as well. And the big thing is the stock's not in an uptrend. All right, stock's not in an uptrend. The stock is a sell recommendation. It does have positive earnings going forward, and it does have a positive earnings growth rate. But wait, it's a sell now. You're telling me this now? Well, what about what happened before that? Well, I'm glad you asked that question as well. I'm going to show you some flexibility within the VectorVest software. I'm going to right-click on the stock, and I'm going to go down to View Historical Data on the stock. This is where I can see what's going on with those indicators prior to now. I'm going to change from intraday to end of day. I am now going to be looking at end of day data on all of our indicators. So the stock has been a sell ever since 4/19, prior to all of this happening. And even before that, the stock had a sell as well. Now, back in the heyday when the stock was rocking and rolling, VectorVest gave it a buy. We look at our indicators, relative value, the stock's upside potential never got above 1. Look at the relative value over this time. Now, the relative safety did go above 1. Why? Because the company was meeting or exceeding its earnings expectations, so the stock was a little less risky from that perspective. And when the stock was in its heyday and it was rocking and rolling, our indicator of relative timing, which tells me if the stock's in an uptrend or not, was clearly above 1. VectorVest will still give you indications when it's okay to buy a stock, even though it's overvalued and even though the upside potential in the stock may not be there. So I wanted to show you that prior to now, with all of the information, that VectorVest did say that the stock was a buy recommendation. That's our footprint in the sand that we can't go back and change. That is useful information. All right, so we've taken a look at the historical information. Let's look at what's going on now. I'm going to right click again. I'm going to go down to View a Stock Graph. Now, I've got a lot of stuff on this graph you'll see in a moment. I'm going to put this on a 3-month graph. Actually, I'm going to put it on a 1-month graph, and you'll be able to see some of the information that I do have. Wait a minute. 3-month, 6-month. There we go. That's even better. 6-month, and now you can see all of the information that I have. So back on 2/4 when they beat earnings, what was going on? Gyms were opening back up. So the stock price didn't continue to go higher, it fell. Now, keeping all of that in mind, when the stock's price was rocking and rolling, our indicator relative timing said that it was okay because the stock was in an uptrend. It leveled out. I'm looking at a technical moving averages, 3 and 8 exponential moving averages. How about this point right here? Even after they beat earnings, price started going down. Was that a good opportunity from a trade perspective to get out of the stock? Absolutely. The stock's price fell. RT told us that the stock was in a downtrend. Earnings is coming out today. What's going to happen? Don't know yet, but I think this video is right on time for earnings to come out. Now, remember when we talked about, well, they weren't able, even with that earnings, they weren't able to keep up with demand. Then they went on 4-1 back in April, 4-1. They bought Precor, all right? Now, understand that even after they bought it, it was a nice little bump in the stock, created a level of resistance at 125.23. Noticed our indicator relative timing never got above 1 to tell you that the stock was back in an uptrend. Even after that, hit the level of resistance. The 3 and the 8 crossed bearish again and is currently that way now. Recall is always bad public relations and will kill a stock. Now, what's going on today? The stock's price is rebounding. Why? Because everybody says when there's blood in the street, it's time to buy. These are the people that still think that Peloton has good upside potential, good up day to day, but notice that my moving averages are still saying it's not the right time to buy. Relative timing is still below the value of 1. So I put together what to do now. But before I do that, see this level right here? This is value, and the stock's price has been above value all of this time. If I go back in time, look at the stock's prices above its value. It's been trading above its value since its inception in our VectorVest software. That's always a red flag, but it doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of the stock when it's moving up. It just means, folks, you trade the stock accordingly with it being overvalued. So I've got some takeaways. What now? Well, recall will definitely hurt a stock's price. Relative value, the stock's long-term upside potential is still below 1. You should and stock's price should not outpace the market even right now. Relative safety, below 1. The stock is a more risky stock to buy right now. Relative timing, below 1. The stock is in a downtrend. And if you own it, you need to possibly reconsider at this time. Again, I'm not beating up the stock. I've taken you through step by step what's going on with the stock. This is where the stock is going to have the moxie to overcome this debacle. Can they? I don't know. Will they? I still don't know. You have to make that decision. But this is where the rubber meets the road. There's companies like Merck that have gone through this, but they were strong companies. When Vioxx came out, Merck was able to overcome that. When you look at Microsoft, when the Xbox first came out, that was a problem. But Microsoft was big enough to overcome that. There's a lot of companies that have had pushbacks, have had things bad happen to them, but they were strong enough to come back. Is Peloton in that space? Do you think that they can come back from this recall? Remember, they got to give all these people back their money. That's going to drive the stock's price down. This is going to take away from their bottom line. Do you think Peloton can overcome that? Let me know in the comments, all right? Let me know if you think so. But this information was designed to give you a walkthrough of what was going on with the company prior to them having to do the recall. Remember, folks, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this. If you like this content, hit the like button. And most of all, share this content, especially if it was useful to you. This video is over. Until the next time, see ya.